Today I'm going to teach you how to create basic chats with Matplotlib library, and also teach you how to make cleaner and more powerful visuals with Seaborn, as well as on giving you the real knowledge and understanding of your how you can understand your data and visualize them instead of just guessing. Let's get right into it. Now let's talk about the first thing here. Let's talk about data visualization. Data visualization means turning data into charts or graph, so it's easier to understand. So it is easier to understand. So instead of reading numbers like 1, 20, 45, 80, 60, you can do stuff like, you can see stuff like, the trends, look at the patterns, the comparison, and so forth. All right, this is very important in stuff like data analysis, machine learning, and so we use this as well in business reporting. All right, so let's get right into the editor. Right here, I've created a file. I called it plots.py. You can call it anything you like. Just for the simplicity of this tutorial, I'm just gonna call it plot.py. Now, the first thing first is for you to import those the two libraries, which is Matplotlib and Seaborn. Now let's import those two. We gotta come here and do pip install Matplotlib, and then space, you go ahead and put your Seaborn. Now, because I have actually installed them before, it's gonna tell me requirements satisfied. So for you, it can go ahead, it can just install automatically. Okay, all right, with that being said, I'm gonna clear this up and pull this down. All right, let's keep it going. Now, the first thing first, if you don't know how to put your visual environment, I just want to speak on this. We've actually talked about this in previous class, in the past classes we've had. There's one of the video. Just go to the playlist of visual environment or Python. You're going to find, as a matter of fact, I'm going to put the link up here so that you can download it. You can just kind of click on it and watch it. Okay, so you can understand how to get into this visual environment and kind of like install your pip and all the stuff, right? All right, let's keep it going. The first thing first we want to do here is to import those libraries. So I'm going to come here and call import. We call Matplotlib, the one we just did, but this time around I'm going to give the extension.pyplot. Okay, don't forget that, and we'll import that as plt. And the second one is a Seaborn. I'm going to go ahead Seaborn, import Seaborn as x and x. All right, and finally we need pandas here, because we're going to be working with just we're going to be creating a data set, so we have to use pandas to convert it to a data frame. All right, so here I'm going to go ahead and import pandas as pandas as pd. All right, pretty much that's cool. All right, the one thing we got to do here, we can create just a simple data here from scratch. We can just call it data, and remember I told you can import your data from the previous class. I told you we can import data from CSV file. We can also import data from Excel file and some other stuff like that. But in this case, I just want to keep things simple so we don't complicate things. Once you understand the basics, to be honest, you can use it for anything you want to use it for, right? So here I'm just gonna create a simple kind of like a student list and give them their score and hour studies and stuff like that, so that you can also learn and master how it works for you to create the stuff from scratch. All right, here I'm gonna go name, and this dictionary is gonna take the list of the students' names. Here I'm gonna go John, and I can say Patrick here. I can also say Mary. Just think about any name. I can say Michael. I can also say something like let's say Grace. All right, now the next key is going to be the score of each of the students up there. All right, so that's going to take a list as well, but this time it's going to take a list of integer. All right, I'm going to give them John 85, Patrick 66. I'm gonna give Mary, what should I give Mary? 33. And I'm going to give Michael, let's say 78, and I'm gonna give Grace, let's say 55. All right, keep it that way. And let's go to our studied All right. We want to calculate the hour. We want to actually put in or take a record of the hours they studied. And let's say John studied for like 2 hours to achieve that, and Patrick studied for like 6 hours to achieve that, and Mary 7 hours, Michael 4 hours, and Grace, let's say like 3 hours. All right. So that's pretty much what we need. Now, once we have the dictionary, we can just use it directly. This is where pandas actually comes in. If you actually following us from the previous class, you would know exactly what I'm doing right now. So if you haven't watched it, just go back and watch, pandas, watch the tutorial, and then come back to this. All right, with that being said, I'm going to go define df, which is our data frame. And here I'm going to call pd, which is the one we import up here. And I'll say data frame. All right. And now I'm going to pass the dictionary, packs data. And that's it. That's all you need. All right. So now let's get into the plotting. Let me call this plotting line chart. All right. Plotting line chart is pretty much simple. It's not hard. Here we're going to call the PLT. Remember where PLT is coming from? It's coming from the Matplotlib library. We got to call that right there and put dots. Right. We want to set plots. Now we're going to plot the name against the score, the names of the students against the score. We have John 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students, and we have 5 scores, right? So for us to call that here, we have to call the data frame, and we got to pass in the name against what? The data frame, what? The score, right? And we got to pass the score. All right, that's it. That's all you got to do right there. Nothing much. All right, so we go to the next one. We have to set a title for this particular line chart, and we can set the title. Just call score of students. Just keep it simple. You can give it any name you want. Just make sure the name is making sense to represent, to talk about the type of data or what you're working on. All right, in this case I'm working score students and all that. That's why I gave it this name. All right, you can, if you're working on house price, you can just put house price right here, whatever it is, just put it up. So once you have that, you want to go ahead and say plots. All right, for the next one we're going to say plots, and we want to call like the X label, which is going to be on the side. The side is going to be the name, and the bottom against the Y, which is this one, sorry, Y label, we're going to call that the score. All right, that's about it. That's all. Just so many lines of code. You're good. And now if we save this right now and try to run it, I'm going to call Python, and we're going to call in plots.py, which is the name of the file you're working with. And remember, this is in a directory of tutorial, so I just want to make sure I have that. And I think I did not spell it well. There's no such directory. I'm going to go ls, and I think I have a directory here called what? I gotta check this very well. Let me see. Okay, there's the tutorials. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go Python, and I'm gonna go tutorials and /. Now I can call plots.py and then run that. Okay, nothing is happening, so I gotta check if something is right here. All right, so there's one more thing we're missing here. We got to come back here and call .show. I don't know, how could I have forgotten that? If you don't call show, nothing's going to happen when you run your code. So that was what was happening here. I'm going to clear this right now and try to run it again. All right. Now, if we run this, we're going to see it visualized here on our code here. We can see it up here. We can see we have John is all the way to 80 something, I think 89 or something here. And if we see Patrick is somewhere around 60 something. If we go back to our data, we can see 66. All right. If we come down to Mary's all the way down here, 30 something. Let's check. 33. All right. And if we check this, Michael is all the way 70 something, 78 or so. 78. Good. And we have Grace. Grace is all the way down here to what? So you see how you can visualize all this. All right, that's cool. I'm gonna close that, and let's get right into it. All right, getting right into it, we can do another chart here, which is another popular one is called the bar chart. All right, let's talk about that one. Now I'm gonna go ahead and type bar chart. All right, bar chart is just shows us good comparison, between them and all that. It's just kind of show you you got to compare all of them and see which one is the highest, lowest, the medium, all that. All right, so we gotta like do the same thing here, but the difference is that we're calling bar. All right, we're calling bar, and we have to pass the data frame name and the score, just like we did for the line chart. And we can do, just take the same title, it doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna comment out. We don't need a line to show, so we only need this to show. I'm gonna call that show right here, and that's gonna do it. All right, so I'm just gonna clear this and kind of like run it again so we can see what we have now. All right, great. Looking at this right now, you can see, you can see the line chat towards the end of it, right? That's because we call show on the same variable PLT. I will have to kind of like take all this off, but it doesn't matter. We still kind of like can see all of this very neatly. So this one just shows us the bar chart, just kind of like give us comparison to see, oh, this is John is the highest right here if we look at it. And we can see Michael. Michael is kind of like, the second. And the third is Patrick. And the fourth is Grace. And then the last is Mary. Just kind of compare everything and kind of like look at them. You can clearly see it on the screen without even looking at numbers, right? All right, that's great. We're going to close that right now. Coming back here, let's talk about the scatter chart. All right. The scatter plot is basically just it's going to show us the relationship between variables here. We kind of like going to call the PLT as well and just say scatter, and that's going to call the scatter there, and we can pass the same thing in here. I'm sorry, not that. We can do plot down here, but inside here we can pass the same name against the score, the same parameters, right? And once we pass that, we can just say the Y label. We can just plot Y label here, and we can just call the Y label score, and then we can call plt.show. This time around, I'm gonna get rid of those two because we don't want to complicate things. So I'm just gonna have to clear them up and then maybe come back later and put them up. All right, let's save that, and now let's run our program and see what we have. Running it right now, and then we can see this. You can see right here on the screen, we have John all the way up here, we have Patrick all the way up here. Scatter plot, because it's just all over the place. Just looking at it, you can see it's all over the place. It kind of shows you the relationship between the variables, right? You can see this this one and this one. This one and this one is kind of like somewhere not too far from each other. This one is distinctively far from, all of this. Mary's all the way down here. It just shows the relationship, all right? And we can see we have the student score, the title up here, just like we have it, and we have the score by the corner here. The names we already have. We did not declare the Y to tell us the names. I mean, humans can read and see that this sounds like human names. I don't think that's really necessary, and that's why we just have the Y label right here, all right? With that being said, let's kind of like talk a little bit on Seaborn. Let's introduce Seaborn now. Seaborn is built on top of Matplotlib library, but it gives you better design automatically. It kind of like crazy. Let's try it out and see. Let me not talk too much. Let me come down here and let's call this Seaborn. All right, Seaborn. Here we go. Under Seaborn, we're going to talk about the very first one we're going to talk about is the bar. Okay, let's talk about the bar chart. All right, the bar plot here, we're going to talk about the difference. I'm going to paste this one here just to make sure we have everything in place here. And the bar plot for Seaborn, it's kind of like, almost the same thing, but let's just plot it and see. X and X. Remember when we was importing the Seaborn, we kind of imported as this, so we got to use the same thing here. And I would say this the bar plot. Okay, when we call that bar plot, remember for PLT we call it bar, but for X and X we call it bar plot. Just similar, just a little bit different. For here we're gonna declare the X, and the X is gonna be name, and here we're gonna just call the Y axis. That is gonna be score, And here we have to pass the data frame. You see the little difference? This is taking how many? It's taking 3 parameters here. But for Matplot is just kind of taking 2 parameters. All right, that's you can see the clear difference here. This one is taking the Y plot, and the ones we're declaring out here is taking it right inside of it instead of external. It's just taking all of them together. Anyway, let's move forward. Remember, we pass our data frame here. The data frame is the one we created up here, and use pandas to convert, of course. All right, so let's move forward. The next thing we have to do here is simple. It's not hard. We just have to set the title, and here I'm just gonna set the title to be student course. We'll just call it Seaborn, just to make sure we have the difference. Just to make sure we see the Seaborn. This particular one is Seaborn. And then the next thing we got to do is the one crazy thing we are seeing here that's kind of crazy is like we can use Seaborn with Matplot. That's so much sweet and interesting. The both of them works together, so we can use Matplot to kind of still show what Seaborn have. All right, so let's just remove all this so we don't confuse what we got with Seaborn. All right, so I'm just gonna go right now and save this, and kind of like we have to close this one first and come back here, and I'm gonna run the program again, and let's see. All right, great. So you can see this is Seaborn right now, looking kind of like almost the same thing, but it looks fuller to me. Actually, it looks fuller to me. It's not that it's not really, I don't know, it's not looking, the difference is not much though, looking at it, but there are some things that we can do to it later to kind of make it look a little bit different. But this is just the basics. Understanding the basics, a good foundation will help you, build some other stuff on top of it. So this is how you plot the student scores in Seaborn. All right, so I'm gonna close this right now, and I'm gonna come down here and clear this up. Now let's talk about this scatter plot in Seaborn. It's kind of like the same thing, to be honest. Just copy this one and just bring it down here. I'm gonna comment this and say, oh gosh, did I forgot to? Okay, I'm going to leave this here and just come down here and say scatter plots. I'm gonna call this we already know Seaborn up there, so I'm just gonna come here and say SNN dot scatter plots. We're also doing the same thing here, to be honest. Just copy this and just pass it over here. Remember, you're passing 3 parameters. The first one is taking what do you want as a text on your x-axis, your y-axis, and then your data frame. All right, the next one is we want to say title as well, but if you already have title up here, I don't think we want to do that. But I'm just gonna kind of like take this one off, to be honest. Let me just do plot.show here, and then take this ones off. All right, you guys know the reason why I'm doing this. I'm taking them off so we don't confuse them. We just want to see the scatter plot for now. All right, so once I run this right now, you can see we have this. You can see we have this right here. You can see we have just the way we have it. With plot Matplot, we kind of have it similar here. We have the names, we have the score up here. So it's kind of like looking the same though, but it's okay, we get in there. All right, that's for scatter plots, and let's paste this back here. Let's just move down to distribution plots. It's okay, I don't want to complicate things for you guys. Let's take it slow. I'm gonna go distribution plots. All right, so let's talk about distribution plot. So this is more like a histoplot. Basically, it helps you to see the value. It helps you to see how the value are spread, apart from each other. So let's just kind of call this SNX, and we call that histoplot. And here we're gonna call in the data frame. We want to do the histoplot of score. All right. Once we have that, call plt.show, and I'm going to save that. Let's just take all of this one off right now and see what we got on the screen. I'm gonna save that and try to run it again. Let's see. All right, so here we go. This is Instagram. Look at the relationship between them. We have the scores. You can see the scores are just this the 80, we have 70. This is a relationship. All of these ones are connected. The high ranking on the end here is the 80 pushing all the way up, right? This is just showing you the different counts on the relationship between them. All right, so that's hist plot, which is histo showing the distribution plot basically. I'm gonna come down here. I think I got the spelling wrong. All right, cool. All right, I'm gonna go back and paste this again here. That's cool. And moving forward, all right, I'm gonna close this one here and then clear this up. All right, to round everything up, I'm gonna give a real life example. First of all, you gotta have this file. I'm gonna kind of find a way to put it in the comments, not in the comments, in the description box. A link to download this sales file. It's just just a simple data set file where we have the sales, we have the date, we have the categories, right? And this is absolutely what it looks like. Just 16 number of them. It's okay, it's not too much. It's just for this particular example here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of all this once we create it up here. So what we're gonna do, the first thing first is you want to go ahead and set the background. First of all, we're gonna set the style, and I'm gonna use let's use dark grid for this particular purpose, okay? And the next thing is to actually call our data frame. Where we want to get that from, we just want to get that from, instead of creating it from scratch, we're just gonna say read CSV. We want to read from the CSV we have right here. So in my case, it's going to be tutorial slash because I'm inside the tutorial folder, and here I'm gonna call sales, which is this one, .cxv. all right, so once we have there, we have our data frame, and the next thing we want to do is to start plotting the graph. So here I'm gonna go X and N, and I'm gonna go bar plots. That's what we want to use for this case, and we'll set the X. Remember, it's taking 3 parameter here. The X axis is gonna be category, and the Y is going to be word. It's gonna be sales. And then the last thing we have to pass here is our data, which we're gonna pass our data frame right there. All right, coming from pandas. All right, so the next thing is to start set the title. Like I said, Seaborn and kind of Matplots, both of them work together. So here we're gonna call Matplots, and we're gonna set the title to be what do we want to set the title to be? This, we can say says by category. We can call it that. And the next thing is to actually set the X ticks. We just want to kind of like get the plot.xtick right here. We're gonna set this to rotation equal to what, 45. Let's set that to 45. So what this is doing here is it's kind of like rotate the axis label by 45 degrees, so they don't really kind of like overlap, and stuff like that. All right, so having done that, we can call the plot.show. I guess that's all we have right now on this particular one. All right, I think everything looks good, right? It does look good. There's nothing else missing. Yeah, let's save this and kind of like run it and see what we have. We'll save this right now. We have an error, no such file in the directory tutorial. I think we are missing X right here because the directory name is tutorials. So I'm gonna save that again and try to clear this and run it. All right, so good. You can see that we have it right here. Everything looks good. The background is grid. What do we set here? Grid, dark grid. You can see we have it in grid, and we have the electronics here. We have all that. We have the clothing, and we have the groceries. They're all together. We can visually see them. And what if we change this right now? We kind of like put it to be kind of dark. We don't need the grid, and I close this, clear it up, and run it again. And what we're gonna see right here is that the things has been cleared. It's no longer grid. So this is just basically how it works. And in this video, what we've talked about so far, we've talked about what data visualization is. We've also talked about, how to use Matplotlib and how to use Seaborn, and also how to turn raw data into meaningful charts. So if you want to get into, data analysis or machine learning, this particular skill right here, you must have it. All right, so if this video helped you, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like as well as share to whomever you feel like it's going to be needing this knowledge. Thank you guys very much for having me, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye for now.